A woman with a mental disorder knows everything about you. She has your address. She hired a detective to follow you, and she is on her way now to take your child from school. No, I am not reading a script from a Netflix movie. I am telling you exactly what happened to football superstar David Beckham and his ex-Spice Girls wife Victoria. Unknown to the public, David Beckham and his family had been victim to a stalker for months. It wasn't until it ended up in court in July 2022 that the major details would emerge. Between July and November 2021, Sharon Bell had sent multiple letters and messages to Beckham, which prosecutors described as escalating and fixated. Perhaps these adjectives don't do the letters justice, as they often mentioned visiting Beckham for tea and changed from a seemingly polite tone to obsessed at an instance. They often mentioned completely fabricated claims of Beckham having previously invited her over and Tom Cruise doing quote-unquote terrible things to her. Perhaps it was when she mentioned that she had hired a private detective to find his home address that caused Mr. Beckham to contact the authorities. The stalker would go on to attempt to collect Harper Beckham, David Beckham's daughter, from school and believed she was her mother. Luckily, a private security guard was present with Victoria at the time and the police were called. When the case made its way to the courtroom, the judge ruled that Bell was suffering from a mental disorder and could not be charged criminally. She was detained under the Mental Health Act, leading many to question if justice had been served. Or was this further proof that many stalking cases exist in a legal grey area with an often unsatisfying ending? What is truly mind-boggling is that this isn't even close to being the craziest stalking footballers have had. In 2023, a very modern stalking case reached court, one that showed how a stalker's obsession can thrive and cause untold havoc even just online. Mason Mount, then a Chelsea and England midfielder, became the target of Orla Sloan, an influencer under the name Devil Baby, who would eventually admit to stalking and harassing him. According to court records, Sloan initially sent Mount hundreds of messages after they had met at a party at fellow Chelsea player Ben Chilwell's house in November 2020. When he blocked her, she didn't stop. She simply changed number and did it again. Sloan would go on to use 21 different phone numbers and admitted to the courts that she would prioritize texting Mount over eating. In texts messages sent to Mason, after being blocked multiple times, she said, "I can morph any time, so let me apologize and set things right." She also said, "I will be faster than you." Sloan would eventually subject Scotland and Brighton midfielder Billy Gilmore to similar harassment, fictitiously claiming she was pregnant with his child. Sloan was found guilty of stalking and harassment and received a suspended prison sentence of 12 weeks and ordered to complete 30 days of rehab and 200 hours of unpaid work. This case was pretty creepy, but the 4 months of texts Mason received doesn't come close to what happened to retired star Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand. In May 2011, Rio Ferdinand's stalker, Susanna Ibru, was sentenced to 10 weeks in jail for stalking and harassing the Manchester United defender. She was also handed a 10-year restraining order, one of the strongest measures available to the courts at the time. This was likely due to her not displaying any remorse for her crimes throughout the entire judicial process. Whilst it was her multiple 400-mile round trips from her home in Peckham to Rio's home in Cheshire that got her initially arrested, in which she reportedly told officers that her belongings were in Rio's house after buzzing their intercom multiple times late at night. Perhaps her fleeing court and spitting in an arresting officer's face the next day got her such a lengthy restraining order which forbade her from visiting the village Ferdinand lived and also attending any of his matches or any event the footballer was likely to be present. Even after the custodial sentence, the stalker continued to exhibit no remorse for her actions, as Ferdinand has alleged that the restraining order was breached by her multiple times. Years later, she would be jailed once again, this time for an assault on a hospital guard who had to receive blood tests after Suzanne's saliva landed in the guard's mouth. Unfortunately, with the rise in popularity of women's football, stalking cases are now starting to infiltrate the beautiful game for both genders. In December 2025, Mangal Dalal pled guilty to stalking Marie Hobbinger, a Liverpool FC women midfielder. The case began online. Dalal sent repeated, unwanted, sexualized messages through Instagram. Hobbinger blocked him. Dalal continued and escalated the stalking from digital to physical. The court reporters confirmed that Dalal travelled to matches and was seen waiting near pitch areas for her. As a result, Hobbinger hired personal security to accompany her, something very rarely seen in women's football. Stalking of footballers is ever increasing, with experts theorizing it could be due to the increase of social media use, giving constant accessibility to details of footballers' lives to stalkers, and footballers becoming more than just players now. The biggest footballers are brands encouraged by agents to be more present online. Now, we all know footballers can earn close to millions of dollars a week, but after hearing about all the stalkers waiting for a new footballer to obsess over, is that a deal you would take?